The DC metropolitan area is facing a crisis of affordability in housing. Across the DMV, rent prices are increasing. Home prices have reached record highs, and many households are being forced to spend unsustainable amounts of money on housing costs or leave the region entirely. There are many reasons why housing has become unaffordable, but as Carmen Romero, president of the Arlington Partnership for Affordable Housing, explains, some of the same factors that make the DC region such an attractive place to live play a key role in driving up housing costs.
We're kind of a victim of our own success as a region, right? We've got a thriving economy, we have fantastic access to transportation and schools and amenities that really have driven a lot of people to move to the Washington, D.C. area and the suburbs for opportunity. Well, in the process, there's been not enough supply, and the demand for housing has increased such that someone who is making what would be middle class income anywhere else in the country has to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to afford market rate rent.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development characterizes households spending more than 30% of their income on their rent or mortgage as cost-burdened households, which may have difficulty affording necessities such as food, clothing, transportation, and medical care. According to a 2019 analysis by the Urban Institute, in the Washington region, nearly 70% of lower-income households, those making less than $70,150 a year, are cost-burdened. That's a total of over 500,000 lower-income households, forced to spend nearly 1/3 or more of their income just to keep a roof over their head. It's a huge swath of DC and includes many essential workers.
It's nannies, it's nurses, it's transportation workers, it's grocery store workers, it's restaurant workers, it's home aides for seniors that are in desperate need.
But why is there such a shortage of housing? One major cause is zoning restrictions, local regulations which dictate what can and can't be built on a piece of land. Single-family zoning dominates Northwest DC and the suburbs of Maryland and Virginia. In Arlington County, for example, 86% of all residential land is zoned for single-family use only.
That's a problem. You need more supply of housing affordability, and in order to do that, you need to be able to have things like density on the table. So instead of maybe having one McMansion per lot in 75% of the county, maybe there's ways to be creative about smaller homes, duplexes, triplexes that bring down the cost.
Another factor is the relatively high cost of construction in our region. Even in areas where new developments are allowed, the costs of materials and labor drive up the price of housing.
It's gotten harder, not easier with COVID. We're entering into a period of cost escalations for building things, right? It was already hard to make these deals work. What are the pressures of that on the economy, on the economics of making things?
But the problem caused by zoning restrictions and high construction costs isn't just an overall shortage of homes. It's a severe shortage of inexpensive homes. For example, there are nearly 500,000 households in our area who are looking to spend less than $800 a month on housing, and yet there are less than 300,000 units available in that price range. There's a similar gap for households looking to spend $800 to $1,300 a month, a gap of 60,000 units between desired housing and available housing. Construction of new housing isn't necessarily going to solve this problem because much of the new housing that is being built simply isn't aimed at these low-income households. Sometimes, existing housing which is affordable is torn down and replaced with housing that is aimed at a much higher price point, displacing people in the process.
Low-income residents are getting pushed out to have to uproot their family that maybe's been here for 20, 30 years because someone comes in and buys their apartment building and gives them 30-day notice. And even though they've raised their kids at the public schools here, they've been part of that community, that apartment building is getting leveled to be turned into luxury townhomes or luxury condos.
Oftentimes, those who are displaced come from minority communities, an echo of historic discrimination in the DC region. A recent report, Deeply Rooted: History's Lessons for Equity in Northern Virginia, describes displacement as a familiar feature of Black history and points to several Black communities which were seized by the government and destroyed by eminent domain, including the thriving Queen City community, which was demolished in the early 20th century so that the Pentagon could be built. And that's just one of the many policies which persistently thwarted the efforts of Black families to buy and retain land or homes. overt discrimination against Black and other minority communities was both commonplace and legal for decades. But this isn't just in the past. Unequal housing is still a reality for communities of color across the United States and here in the DMV. In the Washington region, Black and Hispanic renters spend nearly 10% more of their income on rent, and Black residents are substantially more likely to experience homelessness. And at the end of the day, that is the cost of unaffordable housing.
Ultimately, if we don't have affordable places for people to live, they're going to be left homeless. DC is a wonderful place to live, but there is the other side of the coin, which is what is the impact on the people who got pushed out, on the people who were barely making it before. We all lose if we don't address the problem.